Hi, welcome back to Chapter 5. In Chapter 4, Molly had her first encounter with the coyotes. So let's see what happens in Chapter 5. In the morning, after chores were done, Dad took Mom around and they put out more of the stinky white balls. I can't believe those little things worked before, but they must have, so Dad wants more put out. I patrolled the cow pasture for a while by myself. My family went to town and let me stay outside. The little cow isn't so little anymore. I'm a little shy around it because it isn't as nice as it was when it was little either. It now likes to chase me and can run almost as fast as I can. I try to stay away from the area it is usually in when I make my farm safety walks. The cow doesn't chase me, but little cow sure does. I try to keep an eye on the cat family too. The babies are grown up and some of them have wandered to the next farm where there is a bigger barn. That is okay because they stopped being fun to play with or to lie next to in the hay a long time ago. They spend most of their time hunting in the weeds around the buildings. I miss my little kitten friend. It doesn't even live here anymore. It is one of the kittens that moved to the neighbors. The days are getting hot now and there are so many more mosquitoes and flies. I have more time to practice my ear flapping to chase the bugs away. Joe doesn't play outside much when it's this hot either. I'm still not any better at moving my ears now than I was when I first tried to copy the cow. But I have discovered if I hold my ears up close to where they connect to my head, inside my ears get cooler. But bugs also like to fly in there too, so I can hear them buzzing as they try to get back out. That makes my ears itch, so I have to rub the sides of my head on the ground to make them come out or to be quiet. They eventually crawl on the hairs and get out. Since we have moved to the farm, I have more trouble with bugs than when we lived in town. Very bothersome they are for me to worry about, so I keep my ears close where they are at my head. When I run, I love them flapping in the wind I can make. That makes them cooler too. I can run really fast now, so my ears fly out behind my head. Joe laughs when I do this, but with it being so hot, running makes me get out of breath faster, so I don't do it as much as when spring was here. Joe spends a lot of his time in the house where it is cooler too, so I'm alone outside more. I have watched the baby chickens grow and wander away from their mothers and walk around with whatever group of chickens they get near. I try not to follow them, but when I get close, they start that loud chicken noise and it brings the rooster running. I'm also a little unhappy that the babies growing up, there are more roosters than the children, and I'm worried. They're going to be like the big rooster. They're going to bother me. So far, they leave me alone, but sometimes I hear them try to make the crowing sound he makes, and I know I'm going to be in for more chicken trouble. I also haven't had any coyote trouble since Dad and Mom have put out more of the stinky white balls. There's every possibility I can expect to see them at some time, so I always watch. No more surprise collisions this time. That was too intense, and I'm just so lucky Dad arrived when he did. Dad's woodpile keeps the chickens interested, so that is where I lay most of the time to look around. He started another one closer to the house, and this wood is kind of old and drier looking. This one has also attracted little squirrels, much smaller than the big sassy ones that holler in the trees. It has a lot of bugs, and the chickens like to climb on top of it and peck at the wood. The little squirrels are making piles of pine cones all around the ground by the wood pile, but I don't understand why. I've taken a mouthful of pine cones and tried to chew them to see what they taste like, but they're awful bitter, and they make my tongue sticky. They are also harder to chew than a stick. It's more like chewing a rock. It's fun to mess with the pine cones, though. It makes the little squirrels get all noisy, and they jump around the woodpile, hollering their squirrel talk at me. Mom's garden is getting to look old and weedy now, and the vegetables growing there are changing colors. She has Dad help her at night to take them off the plants and put them into buckets. Then all that is put in the basement. She spends all the next day in the food room with Joe helping her, and they do stuff to the vegetables. When Dad comes home, it is all in jars on the shelves, and there are so many colors in those jars, it's like looking at a flower garden in the house. I tried to smell them, but there wasn't any scent. It was just her smell. It was very strange. I heard my family talking while we were eating tonight that soon something called school was starting for Joe. I don't know what that means, but but Mom got something called his study materials in the mail today, and they just needed to pick a day to begin. Joe seemed excited, so I started smiling and wagging my tail too. I don't know what they were talking about. They were excited. I stood up and walked around to get a drink, and Mom got up too. I thought she was going to start to clean off the table, so maybe I was going to get some leftovers. I waited by my food bowl. Instead, she went to the table in the soft floored room where the TV is and brought back a box. Inside were papers and hard papers, and Joe was looking at them while talking and pointing at things on the papers. Dad was smiling and looking with him. He is starting first grade, whatever that means. Mom looked at me and reached down to pet me. Sorry, Molly. This means Joe isn't going to be roaming around with you during the day. He will be in here doing schoolwork and learning many new things. Wait, we aren't roaming around all day like normal? How can this be? I'm going to have to patrol and make fun alone? I thought to myself. When school started for Joe, I started lying under his desk by his feet while he studied with Mom being the teacher. I would sleep or just lay and listen to their voices or occasionally go outside to look around. The trees are changing and even some of the leaves are beginning to fall on the ground. It is getting cooler, so I like being outside more than inside, but I like being around Joe too. So that means I'm inside more than outside. I was sitting in front of the big window looking out, and I saw a little cow walk past. Oh, it's Little Cow, I thought. Wait, that's not right. I jumped up and stared at where it was walking around the grass on the lawn, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I need to call Mom. So I started to bark and wag my tail while staring out the window at Little Cow. Mom scolded me and told me to quiet down. It's only a squirrel. It's only a squirrel, Mom? I'm looking right at Little Cow in the window. I continue with my barking and start jumping and spinning in circles. When she finally comes over to see what I see, Little Cow is almost around the corner of the house. Molly, there isn't anything wrong out there. What is your problem? I continue to crane my head to stare out around the corner, trying to get her to look where I'm looking. I can only see Little Cow's butt and tail. Look, Mom, look where I'm looking. I glance at Mom, and she is getting ready to turn back to her work, so I bark harder. Really, Molly? Mom is kind of upset with me and reaches down to pat my back. Pat my back. I tried to put my paws on the glass so she would look. Things were getting desperate here. Little Cow's tail was the only thing left to see. I raced to Mom and Dad's room where they sleep and jumped up on the bed. Yes, I can see Little Cow out the window. I start to bark really loud again, and Mom came into the room, really not happy with me. I started to wag my tail to let her know I had seen her, and continue to look at Little Cow and bark really loud, fast and hard now. I have to get Mom to see this. When Mom finally came over and looked, that darn cow was almost behind a bush next to the window. Mom leaned next to me and looked out, and finally she saw what I saw. Little Cow was in the yard and not in its pasture. Well, I wonder how she did that, Mom asked. Come on, Molly, let's go put her back in. I raced to the door while going past Joe's chair. I swerved and jumped onto his lap. I looked at his face and barked out, Come on, Joe, we have work to do. He pushed me off and ran with me to the door and opened it as Mom finished putting on her shoes. We raced to the door at the same time and sort of got stuck. He stood back and let me go through first, I guess because I was wiggling more to get out first. I ran around the corner as fast as I could, barking at the Little Cow. You're not going to chase me first. I'm coming to get you. Mom immediately started shouting at me. Molly, come back here. Don't chase the cow. It will run into the woods. I didn't understand and charged barking and running in circles around my enemy, Little Cow. It took off running right into the woods and down the gator trail. Only problem is, I was running behind it, chasing it. I was chasing it deeper into the woods away from home, and we were both going so fast that Mama Joe couldn't run to keep up. I suddenly realized we are really near the neighbor farm, and I can't hear Mom shouting at us anymore. I stopped chasing the Little Cow and look around to listen. I can hear Little Cow crushing through the brush and weeds, but I can't hear anything else. Okay. Maybe I was a little too enthusiastic about Little Cow. What do I do now? I stood and listened, and way off in the distance, I heard a sound getting closer. I know that sound. Mom and Joe came charging up the trail in the gator. Yes, Help has arrived. They are going to be so happy I got little cow out of the yard. I was smiling so big and panting so hard, and when they stopped by the gate, stopped the gator by me, I was jumping and thinking about how they were going to be smiling and telling me what a good girl I was and what a good thing I had done chasing little cow out of the yard. That wasn't exactly the reaction they gave me when they stopped to pick me up. My heroic actions were being scolded as we continued to where Mom was hoping to find little cow. If she couldn't find it, she was going to have to call Dad and have him come home to help. Well, long story short, we couldn't find little cow. Mom held a box next to her ear and started talking to it. I heard my name several times, so I knew she must be able to hear Dad, and she must surely be singing my praises about herding little cow out of the yard. I was so excited, I guess I didn't listen to the tone of her voice, or I would have heard she was not happy with me. She put the box down from her ear and told Joe we were going to the neighbors to see if little cow was there. She didn't tell me that, just Joe. I should have figured right then and there. I didn't do well, but I thought, oh boy, another adventure. This is an exciting day. Mom started the gator and made it roar more than normal, and we charged up over the hill and raced down the track toward the neighbor's house and barn. I stood in the back with my feet on the back of the seats and had to hang on really hard with my toenails, or I would have bounced right out of the gator and into the brush by the trail. Mom was not driving carefully like she normally does on the egg run days. We were bouncing and the wheels were spinning in the air when we hit a rock or a tree rut. Honestly, I was a little concerned. We stopped so fast the tires slid, and Joe had a really hard grip on the handle so he wouldn't bounce out. I was just about ready to jump out onto the ground, and Mom turned around and pointed her finger at me, and in a very unhappy voice said, "Molly, you stay right there." I immediately sat down and realized I was in a bit of trouble. Even Joe wasn't talking to me. That's okay. When Dad got home, he'd tell me I'd done good. Mom and the farmer walked towards the barn, and sure enough, little cow was standing by his gate by the barn. See, I thought, I knew she was there all the time. She was hiding by the other cows. The farmer opened the gate and let her in the pen by the others, and Mom walked back to the gator. She was kind of laughing, so I figured everything was okay now. I leaned out of the gator by her as she walked past, and she immediately said, "Sit down." I sat. When Dad got home, he and Mom went to the cow pasture to fix the fence. There really wasn't much wrong, just a saggy wire. Dad nailed a wooden board there to convince little cow she couldn't get out in that place again in case she tried to. Joe and I wandered around the barn while they worked. Nobody talked to me very much. I guess they're still all unhappy with me for chasing little cow into the forest, but it was so exciting. The next day, Dad brought little cow home by leading it with a rope around its neck. See, I thought to myself, it isn't much fun to have a collar and lead on, is it, little cow? So that's where we leave Molly today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this chapter, please subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified when I put another video up. And little Molly, do we need to say any more? You have a good afternoon, and we'll do this again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.